The 2023 NASCAR Xfinity Series season has taught me two things. Number one, why NASCAR doesn't run in the jungle, because there's already a large amount of cheetahs as it is based on the new Xfinity inspection rule. Second is that being a trust fund kid like Riley Herbst or Brandon Jones only gets you so far, because from what we've seen this season, 12 drivers that have had a lot of talent and have persevered through a lot of hardship have made it to the 2023 NASCAR Xfinity Series postseason. NRF Productions presents the Spotter's Guide predicting the 2023 NASCAR Xfinity Series playoffs. John Hunter Nemechek has relit that fire in terms of a NASCAR driver, and I say that there are two reasons as to why he is going to make his return to the NASCAR Cup Series in 2024. Number one, he didn't like an Ande Denis meme on Instagram, and number two is that you see what he's done in trucks and Xfinity. John Hunter Nemechek risked his reputation because there's no shortage of drivers that have been Cup Series drivers, but they fell back to Xfinity trucks and never made it back to the top. John Hunter Nemechek is now an outlier, and you can see he is a driver that has dominated this regular season, leading the most laps of any driver, winning 6 races. Didn't get the regular season championship, but he is someone that is going to be the favorite potentially to go out there and get the job done in the pivotal winner-take-all race. Then again, we've seen plenty of drivers have phenomenal regular seasons and not put it together, so John Hunter Nemechek being in that championship 4 isn't a done deal yet. Your regular season champion Austin Hill has had to climb a lot of mountains throughout his career to get to this point. We've seen him in the Truck Series climb from being simply into show to being a major role in the show when he was doing well at Hattori. In Xfinity, he's had to climb the mountain from being a guy that's kind of in a good car but not a championship favorite to someone that can go out there, win races at really any track, because you look at his wins this season, they're all at a diverse set of racetracks, different types of banking, configurations, etc. Plus, he's had to go out there and be consistent. Richard Childress Racing is an organization that has won regular season championships with Tyler Reddick, and they've went all the way. That last part will be what defines Austin Hill. I think in many ways he did a lot of good by getting his contract situation out of the way. He's going to be back in this car next year. However, you still want to go out and win this championship in 2023 with how good they've been. That is the mountain Austin Hill has to climb, as well as still struggling a bit on the short tracks. If there's a driver out there that seems content with being in Xfinity or trucks over Cup, that would be Justin Allgaier. His move to Junior Motorsports in 2016 changed his career and made it to where racing was now fun again, because let's be honest, running 25th in H. Scott equipment, that is not something that anyone wants to do. Perhaps unless you're Ty Dillon. For Justin Allgaier, it's been a lot of fun to go out there and win in the Xfinity Series and win at some big tracks like Charlotte and now at Daytona. Allgaier is now building his resume. So in this iconic season, that thing that's missing is the Xfinity Series championship. I've documented how he has become the Elliott Sadler of Xfinity. In fact, this is his 8th season, and Elliott Sadler, his career was also 8 seasons. So Allgaier has now been around as long as a guy like Sadler. Justin Allgaier's objective in this playoff should be to make a statement that he's not a driver that is just someone to race against for the young drivers and to learn off of. No, instead, he is a guy that you know is going to rise to the occasion and win a championship. So honestly, in these playoffs, for Allgaier, it's championship or bust at this point. This take might be hotter than Chase Elliott when someone runs into him, but Cole Custer has been a disappointment in this Xfinity season. Yes, I get it. He has 2 wins. His top 10 finishes aren't bad, but at the same time, I expected Cole Custer to be more of a championship threat, and to an extent, it's not all on him because Stewart-Haas Racing is still a shell of their former glory. You see that with this 00 program and the 98. Jonathan Toney is also no Mike Shiplett, and I'm putting this in my propaganda as to why Mike Shiplett is such an underrated crew chief, because Toney just hasn't gotten that same amount of winning races and being up front as Mike Shiplett did. Regardless, Cole Custer can make a statement by winning a championship in Xfinity. It's right there in front of him. The playing field is still level, and as we've seen in the past, there are drivers that have been the 4th, 5th, or 6th seed that finally hit on something in the playoffs to where they became champions. I see Cole Custer having this same thing. He's had a regular season, 26 races worth of developing with Jonathan Toney, so maybe that and his experience is what is going to help him make it to the championship and win it in 2 months. Sam Mayer drives car number 1. We all know that. However, I think there's more ways than one that Sam Mayer is number 1. Mayer is perhaps the number 1 guy that has been able to deal with pressure-packed situations. Let's look at his 2 wins this season. Road America, you had the battle between Sage Karam and Parker Kligerman. His car got tore up in the process, yet he was able to still go out there and get the win. Watkins Glen, he had to deal with that same thing because of NASCAR's amazing efforts to clear the oil from the track. Mayer did a good job working through this where Sheldon Creed did not, and Sam Mayer would win his 2nd race of the season. Here's where some of the downside comes, because I believe Sam Mayer is number 1 in making enemies, because in this exact same race, he goes out there and gets into Ty Gibbs. You can debate whether this was a racing incident or not, whether Sam Mayer just drove it in too deep. Ty Gibbs tried to maybe just slice him a little bit to try to get into the corner. Yes, Ty Gibbs has a history with Sam Mayer. You can pinpoint it to that. However, let's look at Darlington. It's under 10 laps to go. Parker Kligerman is trying to make it into the playoffs. And what does Sam Mayer do? He drives it in deep into the corner, gets into Parker Kligerman, and spins him out. Honestly, I would argue that Sam Mayer is the Ross Chastain of the Xfinity Series, minus the fact that Sam Mayer was basically born with a spoon in his mouth. Still, we've seen what Ross Chastain has done, especially in the playoffs, so Sam Mayer could be in for a good 7 weeks. Chandler Smith made a bold move to go from Toyota to Kaulig, and you could say this was a big career move, but I would argue that Chandler Smith was fed up with the immaturity of Toyota and how they're a bit indecisive on where they want their drivers to be. And we all know Chandler Smith is extremely mature for his age. What is he, like 21? And I believe he's already got 2 kids already. It seems like Chandler Smith is a guy that matures really quickly. However, the Xfinity Series seems to be the outlier of the whole personality of Chandler Smith. He looked good to start the season. He had 3 top 5s in a row. Got the win at Richmond in race 7. Ever since, Chandler Smith has been a bit inconsistent, falling down to 9th in points. If anything, Chandler Smith has learned more from the Cup side of things, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is his one and done season in Xfinity. To go back to Xfinity, it's going to take maturity. Chandler Smith is going to go out and have to get decent top 5s and top 10 finishes, maybe put himself in a position to win, because that has been something they've struggled with since Nashville. If Chandler Smith is to go out and be the Xfinity champion, those are the ways that he needs to mature in these next 6 races to get to the big race. For Josh Berry, his work has finally paid off. His grinding in late models and Xfinity will give him the opportunity of a lifetime to replace champion Kevin Harvick at Stewart-Haas Racing. However, before we start getting on to how he's going to do in the 4-car, we've got this Xfinity season with Junior Motorsports. Josh Berry wants to go out and prove that he was the right decision, but when you look at his stats this season, Josh Berry, he's still winless, so that is something that a lot of people are going to be caught off guard with. However, it's not like he doesn't have speed. He still has led 200 laps. It's just the execution just has not been up to what we'd expect from a Junior Motorsports car and driver. That, and I would say a little bit more speed, is what is going to help Josh Berry try to go out there and become a champion before he joins the Cup Series, beginning with the 2024 Daytona 500. Back in February, I said that Sheldon Creed was not going to have the type of season he had last year. Not only did he and his crew chief have experience, especially going through the motions of the Xfinity Series, but Richard Childress Racing was going to be in a much better position. A couple months later, Sheldon Creed has done alright. I mean, you just look at how he's been able to do in the top 5s and the top 10s, and obviously making it to the playoffs. Where the critics are going to start hammering on him is the fact that Sheldon Creed still doesn't have a win, even as he is almost done with his second season at RCR. He is getting close though, because you look at Watkins Glen, he potentially had that race locked down before NASCAR did a wonderful job cleaning the oil from the track. And as they say, the leader cleans up the track for everyone else, and you can say that Sheldon Creed cleaned up that oil and allowed Sam Mayer to go by and get the victory. Daytona, he had a good car, but he just got outdriven by a veteran that's been in this series way longer than he has. Those things mature you as a driver. That's potentially why Sheldon Creed is even in this position to where he's now competing for a championship. I'm interested to see where that goes in the next 6 races. If Creed can use that to advance past these rounds and, most importantly, get a win to try to solidify not only that first career win, but to run for a championship. The other Smith fighting for the Rookie of the Year honors is Sammy Smith. No correlation to Chandler. I'm going to be honest, I expected a lot more from Sammy Smith. Not just because you look at John Hunter Nemechek tearing up the NASCAR Xfinity Series right now. It's just the fact that Sammy Smith came into 2023 with some momentum. He ran a part-time schedule in 2022 and did solid. Yes, he went out and got the win at Phoenix, but he has been extremely inconsistent, especially for a driver at Joe Gibbs Racing. And the thing that's even worse is that he hasn't even improved, because let's look at the last 7 races. He has finishes of 31st, 38th, 28th, 18th, 21st, 17th, and 35th. For a rookie driver like Sammy Smith, you're not going to get that switch that flips to where Sammy Smith just instantly becomes solid. These playoffs are all about learning to try to make sure that next year is way better than what we've seen out of him in 2023. Jeb Burton is a major what if, because he's had opportunities. He had one at Colleague, but then he got caught in the crossfires of Nutrien Ag Solutions, wondering whether they wanted to be a full-time sponsor or just completely leave. They ultimately decided to stay involved with the team, but it was too late for Jeb Burton, and because of that, he's been driving for teams like Jordan Anderson Racing. This is no knock on the organization. In fact, they went out and did the improbable by winning Talladega with Jeb Burton to even get them in the playoffs. But besides that, they're nowhere near the big dogs like Junior Motorsports, RCR, and JGR. Heck, they may never even get there, because you look at the Xfinity Series and how it's all about money. I mean, let's be honest, when was the last time a new Xfinity organization just came in and started winning races without having the massive technical support of a major powerhouse? Not often, and for Jeb Burton and Jordan Anderson Racing, it's going to be an uphill battle, especially in this first round, especially when they only have 5 top 10 finishes. Not bad for a new team, but when you're a contender, yeah, they've got their work cut out for them. Daniel Hemrick is the most frustrating driver in NASCAR today. He is kind of the opposite of Jeb Burton. He's gotten so many good opportunities at Richard Childress Racing, Joe Gibbs Racing, and Junior Motorsports with a combined 1 win, but of course you can't complain about him because that 1 win was to go out and win the championship in 2021. And as we come upon another season where Daniel Hemrick is winless and still hasn't made that leap to becoming one of the better drivers, at least like a Justin Allgaier where he's a series veteran, Daniel Hemrick's career, like Jeb Burton, has become like a what if, except in an opposite sense. What if Daniel Hemrick didn't go out and win the Xfinity Championship in 2021? Would he still even be a Colleague, or would they have tried to go for someone else? And for Daniel Hemrick, the objective in these playoffs are simple. Start running up front, start winning races, prove that you're not a one-hit wonder that hit the top of the billboards one time and then just fell off the face of the earth. Parker Kligerman and Big Machine Racing have the illusion of being the little engine that could, We all know that Riley Herbst and Brandon Jones have deep pockets, but Parker Kligerman has talent. And as we saw in this regular season, talent prevailed. Parker Kligerman got some top 5s, top 10s, and kept himself out of trouble to where the number 48 now makes the playoffs for the first time in team history. As the 12th seed, everyone's already talking about how he's a first-round exit, and yeah, good story, but I mean, is he even going to make it past the second round and make a run? I'd argue they have a chance because Parker Kligerman is an underrated talent. The only reason why he hasn't gotten a big opportunity is because he doesn't have deep pockets. But guess what? In the playoffs, a driver can't sit there and say, I want to buy a spot in the round of 8. I want to buy a spot in the championship. That isn't the case, and for Parker Kligerman and this race team, they've had to grind so hard. Like I've said for the Cup Series, round 1 is all about not making mistakes, and the 48 and Parker Kligerman, they've done a good job not making mistakes, and I think they're going to continue that trend as long as someone doesn't run them over in these 3 races. As for the races Parker Kligerman is going to compete in to make it to the next round, that is going to be Bristol this weekend, Texas, everyone's favorite racetrack on the schedule, and then the Charlotte Roval, where he has actually done a decent job at this season. The road courses have been his bread and butter. The round of 8 features the same schedule as the NASCAR Cup Series, with Las Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville to try to make that epic final race in Phoenix. Okay, let's make some Xfinity predictions, and hopefully these go better than the Cup predictions so far, but even as those might not be going necessarily well, I'm still going to make some bold predictions because, I mean, what's the fun in just regurgitating what everyone else or who everyone else has making it to the next round? In the first round, we've got some big players going home. I've got Daniel Hemrick, Chandler Smith, Sammy Smith, and Jeb Burton out in that first round. The Collie cars have struggled a bit this season, and I don't see them being consistent. Sammy Smith has not had it this season, and Jeb Burton, Jordan Anderson Racing, they're not at the level to where they can make it past the first round. Okay, so the round of 8 is going to be one that you're going to enjoy unless you're a Chevrolet fan, because I've got Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, Justin Allgaier, and Parker Kligerman all being out in the round of 8. I'm sure I turned some heads with Justin Allgaier, but it's going to make some more sense when we look at the drivers that are going to make the championship 4. The latter 2 drivers are self-explanatory, but when I look at Cole Custer and Josh Berry, they've got some really good tracks in the round of 8. Cole Custer has done really good at Homestead. I think he wins that race, and Josh Berry has a good track record at Las Vegas, winning the fall race 2 times, and if he wins in 2023, that's going to be 3 in a row. Then at Martinsville, he's been really good. So I say Josh Berry, despite not having a win, goes out and wins one of those races. As aforementioned, Cole Custer goes out and wins Homestead, leaving 2 spots on points, which I think are going to be the 2 most consistent drivers. For all 4 of these drivers, they want the Xfinity titles, and so because they're all so hungry to get it, that's why these are going to be your drivers duking it out in Phoenix. Alrighty guys, so if you love predictions, if you love previewing the playoffs, go check out the Cup and Truck Series spotters guides to the 2023 playoffs. Other than that, this is Nathan for Digital Gashouse. Life's a beach, and then you drive.